morning. I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday. Joe is off this morning, so you're stuck with me. We're going to get started this morning right here in New York, where the first 7 jurors have now been selected in former President Trump's hush money trial. Those jurors will return to court next week. Court is not in session on Wednesday, so jury selection will continue on Thursday. The judge presiding over the case warned the former president not to intimidate potential jurors after lawyers pored over old social media posts from those potential jurors. Trump is accused of falsifying business records to cover up alleged hush money payments made to Stormy Daniels during the 2016 election. He's pleaded not guilty to the charges. After court ended yesterday, Trump visited a Manhattan bodega and talked about the case.
If you look and you take a look around, a good strong look, every legal scholar, every legal pundit said there should be no trial. This is not, there was nothing done wrong. This is all politics. This is coming out of the White House. And, you know, it makes me campaign locally, and that's okay.
NBC News senior national political reporter Jonathan Allen has been down at the courthouse, but now he joins us in studio, and we're all so thrilled to have you here at 30 Rock with us, Jonathan.
What did you do to Joe?
It's just me. I heard you were coming to town, and I said, get out of here. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. We really are happy to have you with us on set. So tell us, it was a pretty eventful day. I understand there was even at one point it seemed the former president said something sort of in the direction or directed at a potential juror. Walk us through what happened yesterday.
Yeah, by far the most dramatic moment as the one that you were just talking about. But if you sort of zoom back, what we got yesterday was the selection of 7 jurors. Overall, there will be 12 jurors, and Judge Marchand says perhaps as many as 6 alternatives. So they're still trying to go through the what they call the voir dire process, the jury selection process, where the attorneys get to ask prospective jurors questions and determine whether or not they want to ask the judge to strike those jurors or use what are called peremptory challenges to get rid of the ones who they think might not be able to be fair. And in terms of that moment, super dramatic. A woman had been brought back in to be questioned about some social media posts, and according to the judge, we could not see this on the video feed from the closed circuit inside, but according to the judge, while the woman was on the stand or being interviewed, Donald Trump made a gesture and muttered toward her, and the judge came back and said he would not tolerate anything that smacked of intimidation. He seemed pretty agitated about it.
Our Von Hilliard interviewed a potential juror outside of the courthouse after they were dismissed. Let's listen to some of that, and we'll talk on the other side.
It was a really fascinating contrast between feeling that gravity of not only is someone's fate kind of in our hands here, but the fate of parts of our country's legal system going forward is kind of in our hands because this is unprecedented.
So, of course, it is a tall task, and I think as you start to find out if you're, I mean, I just was in jury duty in probably the same room like 2 weeks ago, and so I'm just imagining, you know, mine was very uneventful. We didn't even get to the point of being discussed in a case whatsoever. All of a sudden, you recognize what you're actually there for. It is this big moment. What do we know about the 7 jurors who so far have kind of passed that threshold, and what do we think about the timeline on this process, since we did end up getting 7 just in the one day?
So you were on assignment.
Yeah, exactly.
The New York courthouse. So what we know about these 7 jurors, we don't know a ton about them. Obviously, they are people who have gotten through the process so far, which means they answered Judge Marchand's questions, you know, in a way that was acceptable to both lawyers, answered the lawyers' questions well. But what we know is we've got a couple of lawyers on this jury. People obviously familiar with the law. We've got a software engineer. The foreperson is 28 years old, originally from Ireland. There's a teacher who was, you know, who had said some relatively positive things about President Trump, about sort of liking the way that he handled himself at times. So it's a little bit of a mix so far. And, you know, in terms of the timing, it's not exactly clear, but if they got through 7 today, you'd have to expect it's going to take at least a couple more days to fill out the rest of the jury.
Absolutely. Okay, we just want to hear about your experience now. I mean, you mentioned that closed circuit TV. So explain to viewers, you are actually down at the courthouse. You're in sort of an overflow room. What is it like? What are you seeing? What's even just the process of getting in there like when we have a former president and Secret Service on site?
So you have to sort of take it from the perspective of the courtroom itself, where Donald Trump is actually pretty small. And there, you know, might be 100 or so, room for about 100 or so people in there. And as a result of that, they got to put the potential jurors in there, and they have some media in there, but then they have an overflow room, which is another courtroom, which is very similar, almost a replica of the one that Trump is in. And so there's a lot of media in there, about 100 or so each day. And you basically have to go through a metal detector to come in. Then you have a second round of screening that's a little bit more intense, go through your bags and stuff like that. And then in that overflow room, you're watching a closed circuit. So at times, particularly when there are jurors going in, they'll black it out. You can hear it, but you can't see it because the judge is going to such great lengths to try to protect the identities of these jurors because of the high-profile nature of this case and the concern that there could be some people who might try to intimidate them.
Given the consequential nature of this, we keep talking about the first time that this is a criminal trial of a former president. What is the vibe like there? Does it feel like that as you're kind of in the room, as you're walking through the halls? It's
solemn. It's really solemn. And there's a huge police presence. I mean, it's a courthouse, so there's always going to be some security presence there. But it is solemn. There are moments where there's laughter. You can, if something funny happens, something legitimately funny happens, everybody sees it that way. There's laughter. But I mean, this is a serious thing that's going on. Possibly, seems unlikely that former President Trump would actually be imprisoned, even if he was convicted in this. But the possibility of a former president and someone who is running for president as the presumptive nominee of a major party going to jail in the middle of that, that's serious business. And in fact, one of the prospective jurors even said that. He said, this isn't a show. It's serious. The guy's life is on the line and country's on the line, things like that. So it's treated that way, very much so.
Yeah. Jonathan Allen, thank you so much. We appreciate the intel from inside the room, and we're so happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
So good to see you in person.
I know, you too. Well, meanwhile, as Trump is in the courtroom, his political opponent, President Biden, is on the campaign trail this week in Pennsylvania. Mr. Biden is in the middle of a three-day swing through this important battleground state. He'll head to Pittsburgh later today to meet with steelworkers. NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli joins us now from Scranton with more. Mike, good morning. So, special place to President Biden. This is where he grew up. Walk us through the day yesterday as he sort of counter programs what we were discussing here with John, former President Trump's courtroom drama.
Yeah, Savannah, great to be with you this morning. And it is quite the split screen, isn't it? No visit for Joe Biden to his hometown of Scranton would be complete if he didn't stop at 2446 North Washington Avenue. That was the home he grew up in for the first 10 years of his life. He spent more than an hour and a half there, mostly behind closed doors. He also stopped by a carpenters union hall where he met with some of the organizers who are running the ground game for his campaign here. He talked to them about how important the work they were doing at a time when so many people are getting their information from non-traditional sources like TikTok. But the heart of his visit here to Scranton yesterday was what was the most significant effort to date for the president to draw a clear policy contrast with Donald Trump on a key issue in this election, of course, the economy. Take a listen to part of the president's message yesterday.
Folks, trickle-down economics failed the middle class. It failed America. And the truth is, Donald Trump embodies that failure. He wants to double down on trickle-down. Folks, he's coming for your money, your health care, and your Social Security. And we're not going to let it happen. Can't let it happen.
Now, this was a substantive speech, but it was also an unusually personal speech for President Biden in the way he went after Donald Trump, unusually so. He mentioned his name 23 times, far more than we usually hear from this president. He even jabbed at his financial woes, joking that if the stock price for his company went even lower, Trump would benefit more from his tax plan, Biden's, than from his own.
Let's talk about what we are seeing in polling right now. I mean, this particular state, important swing state, of course, played a big role in President Biden winning in 2020. Recent polls, though, show Biden trailing in several swing states, including in Pennsylvania. What does he need to do to win the state again this year?
Well, it starts, Savannah, with showing up. The president and the vice president have already campaigned in Pennsylvania 8 times. We're in just the 4th month of the year. We can expect to see him come back an awful lot. This is an unusual multi-day swing through one state as we're seeing the president make these 3 stops this week. But it's also important, and the president talked about this as well yesterday, the infrastructure his campaign has put on the ground here. They already have 14 campaign offices open across the state. Donald Trump has 0 campaign offices in the state. His campaign also has $85.5 million in the bank that they can spend on the air and on the ground as well. That's a significant advantage over what Donald Trump has. So he has the campaign apparatus behind him. He also has a team of surrogates behind him. The governor here, Josh Shapiro, very popular, introduced the president yesterday. And so those are all the elements of success here for a state that, yes, when we called this state in 2020, that was what put Biden over the top, 270 electoral votes. They need to win here again.
The president heading to Pittsburgh this afternoon, right? What can we expect to hear from him there? What's the rest of his schedule like?
Yeah, this is another personally significant place for Joe Biden. It was where he held his first and his last rally of the 2020 campaign. It's always been kind of a political home base for him. And today he's going to be talking, it's an official event, we should note, and he's going to call for tripling the tariffs on imported steel and aluminum from China. China is a big political issue in this campaign. He's going to be doing this at a significant place at the Steelworkers Union Hall. Biden, of course, considers himself the most pro-labor president. This has been a top labor priority to crack down on the import of Chinese steel. He's also going to be calling to work with Mexico to make sure that they're not bringing in Chinese steel through the back door. So another significant economic-focused event for the president in Pennsylvania today, Savannah.
All right, Mike Memoli, thank you so much. Well, the Middle East is holding its collective breath as it waits for Israel's response to that weekend drone and missile attack by Iran. Iran carried out the attack in retaliation for an Israeli strike on its consulate in Syria earlier this month that killed 2 top military commanders. Israel's war cabinet is meeting again today to discuss a response, while the United States and others are trying to talk Israel out of escalating the situation. That includes the United Kingdom, whose foreign secretary had this to say on a visit to Jerusalem today.
It's clear the Israelis are making a decision to act. We hope they do so in a way that does as little to escalate this as possible, and in a way that, as I said yesterday, is smart as well as tough. But the real need is to refocus back on Hamas, back on the hostages, back on getting the aid in, back on getting a pause in the conflict in Gaza.
NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Beirut, Lebanon. Matt, good morning. So as we just heard, Britain's foreign secretary said it's clear the Israelis are making a decision to act. Does that mean Israel is definitely going to hit back at Iran? What could the options look like here for retaliation?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. It does sound as though we're going to hear in sort of military speak a kinetic response of some kind. And it looks as though we don't really know, and I'm not entirely sure that the Israelis have come to a decision either, but there are several options on the table. What we're seeing right now internationally is a diplomatic effort. The Israelis have asked some 30 different countries to impose harsher sanctions on Iran. And, you know, one of the things that we've seen when Iran did attack was that there were several Arab states who participated in helping Israel to shoot down some of those projectiles, either with intelligence or with, again, actual military help in the case of Jordan. And one of the things we do know about the history of Israeli behavior when it comes to these sorts of conflicts is that Israel does tend to choose the path of peace more often when they feel as though they're supported by their allies. So that's one of the reasons why we're starting to see such a diplomatic push and a lot of condemnation. A lot of these people, a lot of these allies, including Britain, who we just heard from, it's, you know, they want to show their support for the Israelis while at the same time discouraging the Israelis from taking some sort of dramatic military action that really could escalate the situation beyond what it already is escalated as, you know, bringing this into a region-wide war that would involve not just Israel and Iran or the Gaza Strip, but also Iranian proxies throughout the region, like Hezbollah here in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, Iran-backed groups in Iraq and Syria, and, of course, Hamas, which is already very much involved in the conflict.
And, Matt, one other factor here, the fact that the Biden administration yesterday announced further sanctions on Iran. Tell us who and what those are targeting, but also could that impact Israel's response at all?
It could very much impact Israel's response. As I just said, you know, Israel tends to sort of choose the path of peace when they feel that they're supported. And so this effort to try to clamp sanctions on the Iranians is kind of as much directed at Israel as it is at Iran, trying to reassure the Israelis that the West has their support, again, at the same time discouraging them from taking lethal action in retribution against those Iranian attacks over the weekend. Now, what these sanctions are supposed to be doing, according to Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, and Joseph Borrell of the European Union, it looks as though they're going to be going against Iran's missile program, against its use of the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is one of the groups that props up a lot of these proxies throughout the region that I just mentioned. These are targeted sanctions, but we have to remember here, Iran, until 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, was the most sanctioned country in the entire world for decades. That hasn't stopped them, and it might not now.
Matt, all this plays out, of course, as the war in Gaza on the ground continues to rage on. We do have some new figures from Gaza's health ministry showing that more than 33,000 people have been killed. Our crews inside Gaza captured the aftermath of an Israeli strike yesterday on a refugee camp in central Gaza and also a home in Rafah. Tell us about this. We're playing some of that video now, but tell us what happened.
Yeah, that was a chaotic scene. About more than a dozen people were killed. More than 24 people were injured in that strike on that Al-Maghazi refugee camp in central Gaza. You know, this is a strike that is not all that unusual to what we've been seeing by the Israelis for the past 6 months. The real fear now is that the Israelis are going to continue their attack on Rafah. That is the southernmost city in the Gaza Strip. It sits right along the border with Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, and so far it is host to about 1.5 million Palestinians. Almost all of them have been displaced once, twice, 3 times from elsewhere in the Gaza Strip. The Israelis told them to go there, and that is an impending attack by the Israelis on Rafah that a lot of aid agencies and advocacy groups are warning could lead to a humanitarian disaster.
All right, Matt Bradley, as always, thank you for your reporting. Well, those tensions in the Middle East are creating issues here at home, specifically on college campuses. One major university is sparking outrage after canceling their valedictorian's graduation speech because of her online activity over the war. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has more.
Controversy on campus after USC canceled the valedictorian's commencement speech, citing safety concerns. Asna Tabassum was chosen by the USC provost to be this year's valedictorian, selected from nearly 100 qualifying students who applied. But at least 2 pro-Israel and Jewish groups complained to USC about the choice, pointing to Tabassum's social media activity, specifically a link to a free Palestine slideshow on her Instagram, which calls for the complete abolishment of the State of Israel.
The university has to make the decision about whether this valedictorian and her propagation of anti-Semitic vitriol online is worthy of being the representative of the class of 2024.
Tabassum said she is shocked and profoundly disappointed that the university is succumbing to a campaign of hate meant to silence my voice.
Unfortunately, it is clear if you're a Muslim student today, you don't expect the university, your administration, to stand by you.
The university's provost says the issue here is how best to maintain campus security and safety, period, and that the decision has nothing to do with freedom of speech. USC's commencement typically draws 65,000 people. University leadership has not shared details about potential threats.
It kind of makes a lot of people uncomfortable, the fact that they're putting it under safety concerns, but aren't willing to then elaborate on any of those safety concerns.
The commencement controversy at USC, just the latest example of heightened tensions related to violence overseas spilling over on college campuses. Liz Kreutz, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Let's come back here at home. The impeachment trial for Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is set to kick off on Capitol Hill today. After months of delays, House Republicans delivered the 2 articles of impeachment against Mayorkas to the Senate with a dramatic walk through the Capitol you can see here yesterday. They accuse Mayorkas of, quote, willfully and systematically refusing to enforce immigration laws at the southern border. But just as House Speaker Mike Johnson signed off on those impeachment articles, he is facing a new threat to his job as a second Republican has now joined the effort to remove him from power. NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin is here with more on all this. Julie, good morning. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let's start on this impeachment trial of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas. With that trial set to begin this afternoon, what should we expect, especially keeping in mind that this is taking place in a Senate controlled by Democrats? How will this play out?
Yeah, Savannah, good morning. And that is such an important point because Democrats control the Senate, which means they uniquely control this process. That's not stopping hardline Republicans in the Senate, particularly from pushing for a full trial. They held a press conference yesterday, a group of them refusing to compromise with Democrats or agree to any rules to move this process along. They want a full trial. They're demanding it. The problem is Democrats have made it very clear, led by Leader Schumer, that they're not going to get it. So what's going to happen today today is, of course, the trial is going to begin as soon as senators are back on Capitol Hill later today. Democrats are more than likely just going to dismiss these articles altogether, but you can expect to see some conservatives trying to muck up the process on the Senate floor. For example, Senator Mike Lee, a Republican from Utah, said yesterday that if he does not get a full trial for Mayorkas, which again we don't expect, he's going to drag out every single process on the Senate floor, even recessing or adjourning, those typical things that happen by unanimous consent of all 100 senators. So it's going to be dramatic, but more than likely Democrats are just going to dismiss this.
Julie, also tell us the latest in the effort, as I mentioned a moment ago, to oust Mike Johnson from his speakership. I understand it's gaining a little steam.
Yeah, exactly. This has been brewing for the last several weeks. Marjorie Taylor Greene, before the 2-week Easter recess in the House, introduced a motion to vacate, essentially kick Speaker Johnson out of the job. I know this sounds familiar because this is pretty much what happened to ousted Speaker Kevin McCarthy in the fall. That happened after both men put the government funding bills on the floor. Well, now Marjorie Taylor Greene has a buddy. She has that second vote in order to move this process along. Of course, she's going to need all Democrats to agree to it, too. A lot of them already speaking out in defense of Johnson. Moderate Republicans in leadership yesterday sending statements, posting on X in defense and support of Johnson. Here's what Johnson had to say yesterday, though. Watch this.
I am not resigning, and it is, in my view, an absurd notion that someone would bring a vacate motion when we are simply here trying to do our jobs. It is not helpful to the cause. It is not helpful to the country. It does not help the House Republicans advance our agenda, which is in the best interest of the American people here.
So the second Republican, Thomas Massie, actually joined in because Johnson unveiled plans to move foreign aid on the House floor. Remember, they had that $95 billion stalled Senate package. They passed that in February. The House has not taken it up for foreign aid to Ukraine, to Israel, to the Indo-Pacific, because many Republicans in the House don't want to see aid to Ukraine move, especially without border security, elements of which would never pass in the Democratic-controlled Senate, like H.R. 2. Johnson is poised to move forward with the separate 4 foreign aid bills, then presumably wanting to package it in the Senate. But so far, conservatives giving him a very hard time.
Never a dull day on Capitol Hill, or therefore for you. Julie Sirkin, thank you very much. The former United States Democratic Senator and Florida Governor Bob Graham has died at the age of 87. He was a moderate and spent nearly 4 decades representing Florida, becoming one of the state's most popular politicians. He was an early critic of the Iraq War and served as chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee in a critical period following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. His daughter said in a statement he devoted his life to the betterment of the world around him. Let's now get you over to weather. We are tracking the latest on some back-to-back storm systems moving across the country as some spots in the Midwest are cleaning up from tornado damage this morning. And we say goodbye to that beautiful weather. We had a couple days up here. Hey, Angie, good morning.
We sure did, Savannah. Good morning to you. We've already had, from the same storm system that we've been watching over the past couple of days, 23 reports of tornadoes. Now we're going to continue to see the potential for severe weather with that same system. But we've got another one behind it that's going to dive through parts of the plains and leave us with another round of some severe weather. So let's get you the lay of the land. Here's that first system through today and tonight. The two areas that we're going to watch, parts of the Great Lakes extending into the Ohio Valley and then across the Northeast. The Northeast is where we'll see just kind of rain, that pesky weather that unfortunately will come in the afternoon hours and leave us with the potential for some wet roads on that commute, likely slowing us down. But we've also got those strong storms that are possible across portions of the Great Lakes, specifically places like Detroit, Columbus, Fort Wayne, out to Pittsburgh. You have the best chance to see some of that. But we've got a little area right around Missouri and Kansas, with Kansas City in the bullseye of that has, again, that good chance to see some stronger storms. The impacts are going to remain the same. We've got the hail, the wind gusts, and a couple of tornadoes possible. As we look ahead to tomorrow, notice that system, that secondary system, will start to work into parts of the plains. We've got the shower and thunderstorms possible from Texas to the Midwest. And you guessed it, once again, severe weather will be possible for 14 million people. Those wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour, that 1-inch hail is possible, and a couple of tornadoes can't be ruled out. So we'll keep a close eye on that. If you're in St. Louis, Evansville, Poplar Bluff, Dallas, those are the spots with the best chance of that. Meanwhile, temperatures, Savannah said, it's been nice across the East Coast, and we've got those temperatures feeling like summer for a lot of folks today. 87 degrees in Oklahoma City. Little Rock heads to the mid-80s. Atlanta into the low 80s. So running way warm, typical kind of summer-like temperatures in places like Raleigh with a high of 88 degrees tomorrow. Up upper 70s Washington, D.C. But roller coaster ride, here we come, because temperatures go from the 80s in places like Raleigh on Friday to the 60s by Sunday. We are back to more typical temperatures in Washington, D.C. by Friday, Saturday, and even cooler than that on Sunday.
And I just can't get it right. The last few days I was so hot in what I came to work in, and then this morning I was like, oh great, I'm chilly.
Did you bring your umbrella
in the dark? No, of course not.
I failed you.
The morning text, Angie.
Okay, I'll get on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.